welcome to another episode. I always forget what I should say, episode or edition, but I spent 16 years in radio, and we call it an episode, we call it an edition, whatever. Welcome to another edition of the Parent Pivot Podcast. I am one of the co-hosts, Steve Cummings.
And I'm Julia Cummings.
Hey, I'm excited about this podcast. We have some guests that we have not seen. Well, we're seeing them right now because we're recording with them, but we have not seen them for like almost close to 40 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I mean, all four of us were single. We were living in Orange County. We were attending the same church.
Yep.
And we just kind of went from there. So I want to welcome to the Parent Pivot Podcast, Jon and Cherie Talbert. Welcome, you guys.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I just want to go back to the only reason why I know Cherie is because of one of my best friends, Gina Booker. And Gina and Cherie were neighbors, and so I got to know Cherie way back when, during that period of time. And I remember your wedding. I was actually there.
Us too.
And you guys,
Yeah,
you were too. Yeah, and you guys have quite like a story with that. And I would love just for people to get to know you and start with that story. And it's a story.
Yeah,
I can probably add to that, and then Cherie will fill in some of the pieces that I might miss. So it was 1984, I think we met, and it was the Calvary Church Santa Ana had that rockin' college group that we would have Sunday night college fellowship at somebody's house, and I remember my brother Brian and I would lead worship and do that sort of thing. And so we'd always get there after Sunday night church. That's back in the day when you go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday. You know what I mean? We don't do that anymore. But that's back in those days. And we would go to somebody's house, and I was, I think, 2 years out of high school, and Cherie had come in to the group, and she's brand new. You know when there's some new
Yes.
girl.
I graduated 84.
Yeah, some new girl that comes in the group, the guys take notice, right? And so she comes in, and she comes in with Gina, and Gina invited you. Were going to a party that
I was on my way to a party in Newport Beach, and she came over to borrow something and just said, "Hey, I'm on my way." She asked me where I was going. I told her. She goes, "Hey, you want to go to church?" And it was a totally God thing because I said yes, and I
how would you
don't
pick
know why.
How would you pick a party over church? That seems weird.
She-
You must start drinking early. It was her right at the party. So
She probably said something else. I don't know, but she says, "Hey, I'm going to this thing," and I don't know why I said yes, but I did, and that's where I met Jon.
yeah. Well, and meeting me, you always like to tell that part of the story.
Oh yeah. Well, I walked in. It was somebody's house. How mission. It was after a missions trip that summer because I think that was in September, and so the group had come back from a missions trip, and they were reporting on it that night, and it was in somebody's backyard in Tustin, and I remember standing by the back door with Gina, and people were arriving, and here comes Jon. He's carrying his guitar, and he, in typical Jon fashion, just sticks it. "Hi, I'm Jon Talbert. Nice to meet you." And he was on his way. And Gina turns to me and she goes, "Stay away from that one. He's a heartbreaker." That's a true story.
Wow.
I noted.
I didn't know that.
That was not what I needed in my life at that time, for sure.
Yeah.
But
and sure enough.
But so I started attending then. I loved it, and I kept coming back. And it was kind of the previous year I had been invited to Calvary Chapel and had done an altar call, but it, the spiritual, emotional altar call, and then didn't have anywhere to follow up, and so had fallen away. But I feel like that was my first conversion, and then got reconnected into Calvary Santa Ana, and then with Gina, of course, in that friends group that just really came alongside me, and so I just kept coming back, and to the point where I was then brought a friend, and at that time, Jon and I hadn't started dating, but it was funny. His brother had showed interest in me, and Jon was interested in my friend.
Yeah.
And so after church one night, the college group, they invited us over to their home, and
the parents' home.
yeah. And so we're sitting there, and Jon sits down at the piano. Well, I had grown up. I took piano lessons, and then I sang in choir, and we had this immediate connection over music, and it just went from there. And that's
but I would say this too. There was times where, when Cherie's got a great singing voice and she's just got a great voice, and I think when you fall in love with somebody, sometimes you fall in love with, the voice or, some of those aspects. And I remember back when we had answer machines and phones with long cords on them, this would be cell phones, right? Yeah. And so I would call her and I'd listen to her voice. And I'm like, oh man, she's got a great voice. So I just call again and listen again, call again. She would come home.
I came home from vacation one time to 23 hang-up messages.
That was me. They call it stalking today. I think people get arrested for that now. But that was me. Because I'm just like, oh, listen to this voice. It's just so great. So
at some point, you guys start getting interested in dating each other, right?
After that, by November, I think I was in a wedding and I invited him to the wedding, and that was our first official date at the end of November. And then things went very quickly to the point where by January, the end of January, I found out that I was pregnant. And and so we had that was quite a
shock to the system. Because Cherie's 18. Yeah. I look at my kids now that when they turned 18, and I think, man, I need to go back and re-apologize to my parents. Because Cherie was 18 and I was 20 or 21, 20 at the time, and then by the time we were married, I'm like, we were just kids.
It was a big deal. It wasn't so much with my family because it wasn't. I didn't grow up in a Christian family, and although my parents were together and it was a loving home, we didn't hold some of those same moral values. No sex before marriage and things like that. So it didn't. Right. I didn't hold it as tightly as Jon did, and yet then being in this extremely conservative church, it became
pastor's kid.
Right.
Pastor's kid.
Yeah. You got pastor's son, and then it kind of sent a little bit of shockwave through the whole church community.
Deal, and Jon stepped off of because he was in junior high ministry and leadership, and so he stepped off, and we had an elder board of the church assigned to us to handle it appropriately in a biblical way for restoration, and we did that, but it wasn't without its challenges. There was
it was hard.
It was a time where Jon's plan was. I had just started. I was going to Orange Coast College, junior college, and Jon was looking to go to college. And believe it or not, our first thought was, as a young people, thinking, we've got too much going on. Let's give the baby up for adoption. So that was our original plan. Yeah. And then we were up for adoption. We're young, and then we'll move on with our lives. But as the months continued, we started distancing, and I think. I really felt, not to throw him under the bus, but really felt him pulling away from me. And I had such strong support with my family, and they were totally against an adoption option, that they would help support me. And so it finally came to that where I said, it's time we go our different ways, and I'm going to, you go yours, I'll go mine, and I'm keeping the baby. And that was kind of the plan for a few months. But then shortly before, our oldest, Jacqueline is her name, before she was born, our board that was overseeing us called a meeting. And it was my parents and myself, Jon and his parents, and then at the time it was David Hawking was our overseeing it, and then 2 other elders of the church. And so it was a pretty rough night. We all got together and we talked it through, and it didn't end really well. But when we all went home, it was still, I'm preparing to be a single mom.
It was pretty raw.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Well, I want to hit the pause for just a second because we are going to get to our topic at hand, listeners. You're out there. We're going to be talking about multi-generational living with families. But however, what I'm hearing is, I'm just hearing God's hand of restoration and redemption through this entire story, that you all start off as 2 single people getting pregnant, going through the proper protocols with a church, conservative church, to walk through this, and you're sitting there going, what does this have to do with where we're going? So I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but we're going to get to the good stuff in just a while, because this is important stuff. This is amazing part of how God's hand is on top of you guys this entire time.
It's interesting, though, because it was another time in my life where, again, I said yes to going to church, and I have no idea why. That was not my lane with at that time
Right.
at all.
Right.
I loved a good party. And then here's another time when I was totally ready to be a single mom and ready to rock this. And when Jon called me that night after the meeting, everybody went their ways, and he called me and said, out of obedience, we need to get married. And my answer was, I know. And it's like,
how's that for a proposal?
Hey, we need to get married, and her answer is not yes, it's I know.
Yeah, and it was like, but you're right. Along the way, during that season where Jon was out of my life, and I did have my very good friend Gina, and there was another one who I, to this day, would love to know where he is, was Gil Hess. Those two came alongside me in such a supportive way that, as well as the church, when I finally came back to church, and of course that was shocking because I came back very pregnant, but I felt supported, and kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but yeah, there are this working that was going on behind the scenes where without Jon's influence, I got to build my own relationship with the Lord during those months with him out of the picture. And so I think that's what led me to the I know response, was I knew that obedience to the Lord was important. And yeah, so that's where how our journey together started. And then 6 months later, I believe we got married because we wanted to, not because we had to.
Yeah.
And you guys have been married how many years?
37.
Yeah.
37. They're 2 ahead of us.
Yeah.
We just did 35 back in April.
38 in May.
Yeah.
38 in May.
And
Nice.
nobody believed we would last. Our families, my family, friends, they're like, I'll give it a year. But I do believe it goes back to, it all goes back to the call to obedience.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. So, okay, so you're married, you've got your first child, and then are you living in Orange County? How you guys made your way up to Northern California in the Bay Area? So kind of, give us the broad brushstroke. I mean, you raised your kids in Orange County, then what happened?
So we had our kids. We lived in Santa Ana for a little bit, then we moved to Orange, and we were at Calvary Church Santa Ana for a while. We had 4 kids. Our youngest was 3 when we moved. But we had moved from Calvary Santa Ana and went to another church, and South Coast Community Church in Irvine. And I was involved in ministry there and teaching and learning and growing and stuff like that. And then we got an opportunity to take a position as a college pastor at a pretty vibrant church up in the Bay Area, in the South Bay, in San Jose area, called South Hills Community Church. And I came up here. We moved up here in 1996. And I became a college pastor and served at that church for 8 years as a college pastor. And then 10 years as a teaching pastor at another church. And then all that time, from 96 on, been doing sports ministry where I work as a chaplain in NFL, Major League Soccer, and now in Major League Baseball. And we've raised our family, our kids. We have 4 kids, 3 daughters, and a son, in that order. And they all live here in the Bay Area. And some of them live on the property with us.
Yeah, so that's where we wanted to get to, because
that's where we go.
That's where we want to go. And then I'll tell you. Yeah. So tell us how. I mean, have you always had this dream or desire to say, "Hey, let's all live on the same property"? I mean, how did that? Where did that come along? And was that something you always had a dream and desire to do? Did it just kind of happen on its own, and then you bring your parents, Jon, into it? I mean, tell us how that got going.
You know, it's funny. I think. As a dad of daughters, I always think, oh man, some dude's going to come along and it's all over. You know, he's going to take her away. Yeah. And daughters tend to live closer to their parents than sons do. Sons usually live closer to it's just kind of a thing, right? And
we have 3 boys on the West Coast and 1 daughter 2 miles away from us.
See, my theory proven.
We balance the world,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you think about it, I always would say this: you get what you incentivize. So I'm like, man, if I could just, if we become grandparents one day, we just need to make it super available. We want them to, the kids to have accessibility to us, and we're cheap and free and babysitting great, and we're trusted and all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a couple things happened. We lived in San Jose, and we were living in a pretty nice area, a pretty large home that 6 bedrooms that we had been renting, and it was just a great place, right? And 2 things happened that caused us to pause. My father was dealing with spinal stenosis, where he had back issues, and he and my mom lived in San Diego.
Way down Chula Vista.
Chula Vista area, and he was struggling with back pain and had a hard time, and it just got worse and worse, and he needed surgery and some other things. And just for him to go up and down the stairs to his bedroom was complicated. So we had that issue going on. And then, my son, who lived nearby, he and his wife had their first child, and what was she, a year in?
8 months.
8 months in, and Azariah, she's one of our granddaughters, she got what they call infant botulism. And botulism is comes from a spore from the ground that actually you can ingest, and then it paralyzes the nerve platelets. It kills the nerve platelets in the body, and then it actually causes paralysis, but systematically. Like you begin to lose balance, and you can't swallow, and you can't all the things that until eventually shuts everything down. And so
and then until people don't die, but they do need to be intubated until the nerve regeneration.
Yeah.
So it's pretty serious.
So we had those two things that happened. So when that happened, first and foremost, we said to Sam and Natalie, our daughter and son and daughter-in-law, we said, why don't you guys move in with us? We've got plenty of space, we've got room, and we'd like just, as you settle, because we figured we were going to be on a long haul journey with them. And we had this house with 6 bedrooms. We're like, okay, we've got room. We're always, from our ministry up here, we were always taking people in. We knew how to take people in. Hospitality, and it's really a gift that Cherie has. And so we were always taking people in. And then my parents were going through this. And we're like, shoot. Cherie had lost her parents. How long has it been now?
It was 2012 and 2015. But I had been traveling down to Southern California often.
And she was taking care of her parents, and so really, really minding and caring for them. And so she threw this idea out, which is a testament to her relationship with my parents and also her fortitude to care for. I think she discovered a superpower she had, which is caring for people that are children, babies, infants, and then caring for people that are struggling in their health. And she had done such a great job with her parents and helping them in transition in the senior season of their life. And so she throws it out. She says, I think your parents ought to move in with us. And I'm like...
And your reaction was?
Well, I have a great relationship with my parents. So I'm like, it's one of those, are you sure? I'm sure. And we went back and forth, and it was really... There was zero manipulation on my part. And it's easy where you'd be like, come on, babe, this will be the right thing. Blah, blah, blah. This was all generated and motivated by Cherie's, the compassion that she has to me with somebody. That's not something that a lot of people can do. That's where it came from.
Well, that's awesome.
Part of the other piece to this is that we were at a place where we'd never purchased a home, and we knew that just even with financially the right thing to do right now for us, the investment would be to purchase a home. And so we started looking, and all this kind of converged at the same time. We had started to look for a house. His dad's health and his mom, they're struggling, just physically up and down stairs. And so and then our children were thinking, wow, as we look, why don't we see who would be on board with wanting to co-live together? And that's what got us down the road. And everybody wanted to. His parents, it was hard. They're losing a lot of independence and a lot of things that go with it for them. Married 50 plus years, but
60 years last 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago they celebrated 65. But that's what kind of started it. There were these 3 pieces that I saw between we had started looking for a house, his parents' health, and then Azariah's health, where we saw the benefit of drawing together to support one another, and where we were totally on board with that and exploring what it would look like with everybody. Say, do you think we could do this?
Yeah, so we started looking for houses with the idea of, okay.
So let's pause for a second. I'm tracking with you. So Sam and his wife and little how do you say her name? Azariah. They come and join you in your home, and so do your mom and dad.
Sam and Janice hadn't joined us yet
until we bought.
Okay.
We were looking for.
Okay. I'm sorry. So you're looking for a house, and now you're gonna. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Now we're gonna, when they agreed, we're gonna purchase a home with them in mind. Like, how are
was it hard for Sam and Janice to accept that offer, or were they? I mean, did they like? Yeah, that makes the right sense. And I mean,
yeah, no, it's a good question. My dad was completely motivated and was ready to do it right away, and my mom, just as any person would do, had more questions and wanted to make sure. And when you move from one place to another, even if it's the best case scenario, there's still all the pieces of moving. And
you're wondering what's going to look like.
Doctor, all that stuff, So
Yeah.
she had some insecurities and fears related to it, and we had looked at houses to where there were sometimes we were driving on these little crookedy roads, and even Cherie's answering for my mom like, "Nope, it's terrible. We're not buying this home." So I'll tell you, we looked, and every time we looked at a new house, made an offer, it fell through, somebody bought it before us or whatever else. We just got smarter every time, and we got clearer on the vision that we were going to do this together, and we're going to find something that works for all of us.
Right.
Yeah. The original plan was we were going to purchase a property that had enough land to build them an ADU. They would build an ADU and have their own separate residence. And then we could all co-live with our children if we needed to, but Sam and Janice would have their own unit.
Same property, separate kind of housing structure.
Right. But so ADU, additional dwelling unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as we continued, Janice discovered, she's like, you know what? I'm not really that interested in having my own kitchen anymore. I don't cook that much. I don't feel like I need to stock. And so everybody learned pieces that we could narrow it down to what can we do, to where and what are we willing to do, to the property that we found. And I'm backing up. I feel like it was a lot like threading a needle. It was not easy to come by because.
Right. And at this time, you're looking for a space for you guys, one son, your parents, any other kids, or all of them on board at this point? You're looking for a space for everybody?
If we could have found a property and accommodated everybody, yes.
Yeah, the first property we found had 7 dwelling spaces on it. Remember that one?
Wow.
And it was
a little janky though. It was kind of a hodgepodge.
There were 2
stuff.
barns, trailers.
A dwelling unit. A barn is a dwelling unit. I got it.
Well, I'm not sure how livable they were, but they were. People were living in them.
People were living in them.
But
interesting.
But again, we learned along the way, and
but opened our eyes to different.
Totally
options.
opened our eyes, and we started out in Santa Clara County, and it's Silicon Valley, and it was super expensive, and our budget was only so much, and so we got priced out of that, but we're still nearby. We're in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which people
what a horrible place to be.
Like, oh my gosh, the Santa Cruz Mountains are here, 10 minutes door to shore to Capitola Village, and
you can see the.
we live in the forest, so
we got a peek of the ocean from my.
That's
awesome.
We love it. But
so I would say the big idea, we found a property that was move-in ready. There's nuances and things you got to fix along the way, and it had been vacant for over a year. There was a mudslide nearby, so it was really hard to get to. The week that it opened was the week that we're like, hey, let's go look at this one, and we were able to get through on the road and went and saw it, and I immediately fell in love with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we could do this, and our realtor who had been working with us was like, hey, this is a spot for your parents, spot for your kids, spot for cars, spot for all that, it's got a pool, all these other things. And so we're like, we quickly worked to make a play for it and moved in and then started building this mindset of what does it mean to live together?
Yeah.
What does it mean to live on a property with sacred space and shared space? Sacred being
right.
our own, and shared meaning where we gather collectively together.
Yeah.
Wow. So I want to ask you just the financial piece of all of this, of buying in California, near a beach, ocean,
Santa Cruz Mountains,
and that much property must have been taxing, I'm imagining, on some level. But I'm wondering too how your kids, do they participate in the funding of it all, or did Sam and Janice, when they sold their house in San Diego, give some, things like that?
Great questions.
Everybody participated.
Yeah, we've been able to say everybody pays less than what they paid for before.
Everybody participated. Like when my parents passed away and sold their home, I had some money to put towards a down. Yeah. And then Sam and Janice helped invest some, and then
my portfolio.
We all pulled together. The kids didn't, but the property's in our name, Jon and ours, or the two of us, and then everybody participates monthly in the mortgage payment.
Nice. We just call it rent.
Yeah.
They rent from us.
Well, and that's important because as we talk about in the Parent Pivot podcast, we don't want our kids to be slouches and come along and just mooch off of mom and dad for the rest of their lives. That, there is this boundary of even on the financial things, even though we're on the same property, hey, everybody participates. And that's what I'm hearing that y'all are doing.
Jon and I have for years had a belief, or I don't know if you call them, a value for each other to live generously. And some of that came from my parents. My dad was very poor growing up and
extremely generous,
extremely hardworking, and worked and provided for us very well in a simple job. And yet the work ethic and the values, I think a lot of it with the family and the generosity were demonstrated on a huge scale in my life. Yeah. And so, there was never an empty seat at the table, and anybody who needed the shirt off his back got it. And that was demonstrated to us. And I feel like we
said that early on. We're going to be a generous family.
Even if God would always provide the means for anybody, whether it be a stranger or our own. Yeah. And so Jon calls it the lion's share. It's kind of like we handle the lion's share stuff, but it's not like this burden. We love our family meals together, and oftentimes I'm like, hey, I have extra. Why don't you all come down? And
they do.
And they do. Or, hey, Mom, we don't have any food for dinner. What are you making? I'm like, come on,
To be honest with you, it's like Thanksgiving in a lot of people's homes. Here almost every night.
Do you ever get exhausted from, like, I'm an introvert. So,
Julie needs her downtime. We call it cocooning. Like even today, she was doing her counseling sessions, and just before we turn on the mic, she's like going, "I am so exhausted," and she needs to go just be alone for the rest of the evening.
Sure. Right. So I'm trying to picture what that looks like. Like, do you ever just go, "Okay, you guys, I'm checked out," or we are checked out as a couple. Mm-hmm. We need mom and dad need alone time. But how do you operate that?
Yeah, it's easy to communicate with the kids. When grandkids come along, they don't understand. Introvert doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
And but each of us, and this goes back to sacred and shared space. And so when we say there's sacred space, like we're in my parents' sacred space right now because my dad's heading up to a class reunion up in Northern California beyond us. And so
our space,
and our grandkids are in the other space.
Our daughter with our new 2-week-old grandson is in the other space with two of our granddaughters. So we're
like, we're going to be in here, and we don't want to hear anything from you.
Yeah.
So we snuck over there. But they have their own section that they can close the door and have their own time. And if somebody comes in, and sometimes it's just the cutest thing to watch a little kid walk past us to go hang out with their great grandparents.
Oh.
And my parents are always just loving and love that about it. But they can close the door and they have their own space. Yes. Cherie and I have our own suite up, above the house in the second floor, and we can go retreat to our own space. And Sam and Natalie have their own space, and our garage has another big, large bonus room, which is another space. So we have 2 houses and 4 living spaces that create sacred space. And so and then we have 14 acres. So if you need alone time. Yeah. We have little hiking trails. You can go find. I got all kinds of stuff. You can get lost here in our.
Well, and if I remember correctly, I've seen some photos on LinkedIn. Y'all do you not all have a vineyard and some Airbnb spaces that you're renting out as well?
Yeah. So we put in. We're going to put in more vineyard stuff. We put in a demo vineyard just to see how the grapes grow in this area, in this terroir, and. Chardonnay and Pinot grow really well here. So we're looking to put in a larger vineyard, but we put in a demo vineyard just to see if it works, and it does. So, and then we have an Airbnb. I took about a quarter acre down at the lower part of our property, and we built a glamping site with 3 Airbnbs. And it's away from that. It's close enough to where you just go down and greet people, and then you can't, you're distant and disconnected from them. But it's a separate little deal. I want to go back to something you said though, Steve. You'd mentioned your kids getting this idea that, helping them transition. And I think as a dad and as like the primary provider financially of what we do and structurally as far as what happens, with the thing. And then for Cherie, what she runs on the interior and sets the pace. We believe that our role in this is to create what we call a safety net. We've had kids that have come back from a situation or broken up with a boyfriend or moved back from, Tennessee or wherever and didn't have a place to go. And so we're always going to help our kids because the safety net exists. And,
yes.
But you have a term for that.
Yeah, I call it a safety net, and I always say it's a safety net, not a hammock.
I heard. We had a conversation a week or so ago when we were chatting about getting the interview. I love that because yes, that's a boundary. It's like, hey, we're here as a safety net, but you can't just take advantage of us for the rest of your life.
Right, hang out here.
Well, I remember the one time when my daughter was working for Starbucks, and Starbucks offers, they got great benefits, right? And so they offer full healthcare benefits for her, and they were going to take like $4.85 out of every paycheck.
$4.85.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so I'm like,
that was for a 401k. That was for the investment.
Whatever it was, it was this tiny amount,
like $10 a month, maybe.
And I'm like, she's like, I don't want that. I'm like, so if you're dying because of something, you want to put that on me, just so you know. Well, I'm not going to die. I'm young. You have that conversation, and you have to. It's partly right sizing their understanding of the financial wherewithal and adulting at a different level. Like, this is what it means to be and to function in these as an adult in these particular areas. And so no one lives here for free. There's responsibilities and things that you've got to play a part in, financially and otherwise. And so that's just part of being honest. If somebody's here and they think they're living here for free, people rent our Airbnb. They don't live here for free. So
right,
I love that. I love that. I'm going to hit the pause button here because I want to ask you guys to come back and be with us on a second part 2. So just hang with us real quickly. We're going to give some information to our podcast listeners and saying, hey, if you want some more information about the Parent Pivot podcast, you can reach us in a couple of different ways. One is to email us at theparentpivotpodcast@gmail.com. We've got Facebook. Go to the Parent Pivot Podcast. That's hard to say that really fast. Yes. 3 times on Facebook, and like and share us. And we're talking about multi-generational family living with Jon and Cherie Talbert. And I'm going to open the next podcast with a little bit of a surprise that they don't know about. You and I know about.
I do?
Yes. Yes, you do, and things. But I want to just be able to close this particular podcast and say, hey, if you've got any questions about this, anything you've heard Jon and Cherie talk about, send us an email, put it in the subject line. If we don't have the answer, we're going to contact them because they've been doing it longer. And anything else you want to add to close off this podcast?
I just allow Jon to give himself a shameless plug.
Yeah, we want a shameless plug from Jon because he works for a great organization that does some awesome things. It's called Forte. Jon, you're on, buddy.
Yeah, Forte is a wellness platform that you would consider at a company in your benefits package that provides on-demand wellness, soul care, conversations and connections and content, I should say, for every employee, from the president and CEO all the way down to the next hire, even in education, from the head of school to the bus driver, where everybody can unpack what's going on in real time and process life And we're finding soul care to be a new benefit that allows people to process anxiety, stress, burnout, and brings your people at work from struggle to thriving. And
if somebody's interested, they just go to forte.com.
You go to Get Forte, Forte, getforte.com.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
I've got a child that would.
We do. There's going to be a lot of connections here.
Yeah, like one of our kids would be really good at what you're talking about.
All right, we're going to say goodbye on this podcast. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week and talking to these two again. So thanks for joining us on the Parent Pivot podcast.
Bye.